Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Happy Mum, Happy Baby, the podcast. I have not one but two guests in the studio today. One will be talking into the mic and the other one won't be, but we will be hearing from her at various points. I'm so excited because today we have one half of the Receipts podcast host. It's Audrey and I feel like I'm in the Receipts podcast now.
Do you know what? You low-key are. You low-key are. You low-key are. Do you know what? Anytime I do podcasts, it's always really nice to not have to explain things because you do it so everyone kind of just understands. You understand the language and the jargon and the mics and all of that. So it's always really cool to meet other podcasters and go on other podcasts.
How long have you been doing it for now?
So it'll be 8 years in October.
Wow.
The Receipts podcast has been going for. Yeah, crazy.
That's amazing.
I know, it's nuts. Like when I think about it, I'm just like, how? The time's flown by, but it's been great. Yeah.
Would you like to introduce the noise so we can hear the little lady?
I'm with the back of head queen. Little baby Anaya is with me today. She's in the background. So she's at that stage now where she's cooing a lot and talking and singing now. So yeah, that's who's in the background.
I absolutely love it. I said as you came in, if it would be so wrong if we as a podcast, Happy Mum, Happy Baby, were like, no.
Yeah.
Actually, this is...
Yeah, do you know, I thought that might be the case, but I thought, let me just ask just in case, just because you never know with the space and stuff like that. But yeah, thanks for having both of us.
An absolute pleasure. How are you? 6 months in, does it feel like it's gone so super fast?
It's just gone so fast. I can't believe she's 6 months old. It feels like I was just 6 months pregnant the other day. The time has flown by and people do say that to you. Yeah. And I used to think they were exaggerating, but they're not. Like, it has gone so fast. It has been amazing. Yeah. I've loved it. I love every minute of it.
I love it.
Yeah, I really do.
Let's go back to your childhood. Mm-hmm. Where did you grow up? Did you have any siblings?
Yeah, so I'm from Essex.
Oh, whereabouts?
Yeah, Woodford.
Okay,
yeah,
so I grew up in Ingatestone between Broughton and Chelmsford.
Oh, okay, yeah, not too far. So yeah, I grew up in Woodford. So I went to a pretty strict Catholic school.
Right.
I've got two siblings. I've got a brother and a sister. And people always say to me, "Oh my God, I didn't know you have a brother." Because I'm so close with. I'm close with both my siblings. We're all super close, but everyone just knows me and my sister. Like we're really, really, really tight. But yeah, I've got a younger brother. He just turned 30, and my sister's 34. I'm going to be 38 next month. Yeah, there's three of us.
And are there other cousins? It says Anaya got cousins.
She has. So my sister had a baby. We were pregnant at the exact same time.
No.
Yeah. So they are exactly a month apart. The 15th of September, 15th of October.
Oh my
gosh. So yeah. So it's been nuts.
Have you spent loads of time together?
Yeah, we have. I live in South London now. My sister's still in Essex, but we try to get together as much as we can. Yeah. But I tell you who is loving it, my mum.
Really?
Oh my God, she loves it so much. I mean, she's been wanting to be a grandma for ages and ages and ages. And, she would go on to both of us about, when am I going to be a grandma? When is it going to happen? And we'd just be like, listen, just chill. It'll happen when it happens, But yeah, she loves it. So my niece, bless her, name's Cleo, super close. And yeah, her and Anaya, they get together often. Oh. And it's just so sweet. It's honestly the sweetest thing.
That's so cute.
Yeah, it really, really is.
Just so nice to have someone who inside out, who's going through a similar stage to you, or you're a month ahead, so you can kind of know when it's going to get tough and kind of just say things that you would have found helpful.
And you would think I'm an expert. I'm like, don't do this, do that. And I'm just like, I'm only 3 weeks ahead of you. But it's been so nice to have that. Because we're so close anyway. Yeah. So now to have had that experience together it's just incredible. Yeah. And I didn't really enjoy being pregnant that much. So when my sister was pregnant, I was like, thank God, Anaya's going to have a cousin that's really close in age, so I potentially don't have to do this again. But now that she's 6 months, I'm kind of like,
oh.
Yeah.
Did you always know that you wanted to be a mum?
Yeah, I did. But I always felt like I wanted to be a mum, but it was you grow up as a young girl and you're given dolls and you're given girl toys. Yeah. And so I never really explored anything else. So for a long time, I did question myself as well. I felt like it was an innate thing I wanted. But then there was a point in my life where I was like, do I actually want this? My husband and I separated for a bit. We've been married 6 years now, but we went through a separation during lockdown.
Right.
And during that time, I used that time to really question myself because I couldn't.
That's a really good point, though.
Yeah.
I've never really thought about the fact that as young girls we have dolls.
Yeah.
That is our form of role play.
Exactly.
Is we're mums.
Exactly. And I remember it was so vividly being about 5 or 6 and having my dolls and playing mother, you know, and I felt like I was having a great time at the time. But when I was going through the separation, I actually really interrogated that just to make sure. And you know, even though I was living my best single life for a little bit, I mean, we're back together now. At the end of it, I was like, no, I still want this.
Really?
It's actually something I want, and it's not just a conditioning.
Was that something that you two had talked about before the separation as well?
Yeah. And it was actually a bit of a bone of contention in our relationship.
Oh, really?
Because he was like so ready, and I didn't think I was quite there yet. The podcast was starting to get
Time
traction.
is so hard.
Yeah, and
you
I was
tell
like,
yourself that timing, it has to be right.
exactly.
There's so many things.
Exactly that, and it was so tricky because I was in my early 30s.
Yeah.
And so I had all of that biological clock pressure. So I was conflicted between that and not being ready, and like my career's just starting to take off. I mean, the podcast, I never expected it to take off at all. It was a complete and utter surprise how successful it became really quickly. So it kind of like got ahead of me in a weird way. So now I'm just experiencing all these things. We've got all these opportunities. We get to do all these, like go to all these places, go to all these events. And I just couldn't see a child in my life at that moment.
Is it because you also see like a mum being or looking a certain way?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I have this perception of motherhood that you're supposed to just stay at home. The kind of life I was living, I just couldn't see how a child would fit in.
Yeah.
And I always imagined myself to be not stay at home fully, but just very dedicated. And I just knew I couldn't be at that time. I was living my best life. We were going to all the parties, we were invited to everything. And I just thought, I'm not quite ready. I really want to just experience this a little bit longer. And my husband was really ready. So we were slightly on different pages at the time. So that was, so I just
And how long have you two been together?
We've been together for ages. So however long ago, 2009.
So you've been together since 2009, so 15 years?
Yeah, really, really long time. Yeah, but we got married in 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, got married in 2018 and then separated like 2019.
Yeah.
So yeah, during that time I was like, do I want this? Do I actually want to be a mum? And then I was like, yeah, no, I really, really do.
And then getting pregnant, how was that? Did that all happen quite smoothly?
So, funnily enough, I had gone... So, during the separation, I had a lot of anxiety about pregnancy and fertility and stuff.
Well, I think for some women, this must be a massive thing as well, you know, and I think it does feed into our whole thing of, do I want kids? Because for years we're told, don't get pregnant, don't get pregnant, don't get pregnant. And then there's that something, well, can I?
Exactly.
And there's a real anxiety that comes with that.
100%. And do you know what? I never really thought about fertility. Before, I used to just think all women got pregnant. Like I never really gave it much thought until I started getting older and friends were getting married and people were having problems.
Yeah.
And then I started to question myself and wonder, oh God, am I going to have these experiences? What's it going to be like for me? I genuinely had no idea. And I was approaching 35 as well. So the thoughts were just playing on my mind more and more, just becoming more and more active. And I'd heard about fertility MOTs and stuff, and a few of my friends had done it, and they were like, look, just go and do it. Whatever the outcome is, at least you've got an answer. And I was really scared. Like, I'd put it off. So I think I was 36 when I eventually did it.
Right.
Still during the separation. And I was like, you know what, let me just bite the bullet and go and do it. So I took the test, and they told me that, I mean, I feel like in those scenarios, they can't tell you everything's fine, but they said it without saying it. They were like, you know, you've got a good egg reserve, like you shouldn't have any problems. They said that I had a couple of fibroids actually, which I'd never given a thought to. I've got friends and family that suffer from them really, really badly. I think it's something that black women deal with quite a bit as well.
Right.
So they did tell me that I had fibroids, but they were quite small and they were nowhere near like my reproductive organs.
Right.
So there wasn't anything to worry about. Oh, okay, thank you.
It's just like being in a coffee shop with I feel fine with this.
Yeah. Oh God, this girl. Anyway, so they told me that my egg reserve was good. I had the fibroids, but they weren't in any concerning areas, and that if I did have any problems conceiving naturally, it could be potentially due to that, and I should come back. So I felt a lot better, you know. I felt a lot better, and I just kind of just put it to the back of my mind because now it was done. Then when my husband and I figured it out and I moved back home, I became a bit obsessed with trying to get pregnant. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
And I had been managing my fertility actually because I'd come off contraception and I just wanted my body to regulate itself again. And so I was having regular periods and I just knew when I was ovulating.
Isn't it fascinating though that you'd kind of resisted it and then as soon as you were like, no, this is what I want, that was it.
Yeah.
The obsession hit.
The obsession hit.
Going, yeah.
And I was exactly that person. I'd never given it a thought. Like I'd spent so much time trying to avoid getting pregnant.
Yeah.
And here I am now, 35, 36, obsessing over it.
Yeah.
You know, really, really thinking about, is this going to be a possibility for me? What does it look like? I mean, I would have done anything. I really, really wanted to be a mum. I probably would have frozen my eyes. I would have explored all options. When I moved back home, I was really, really active. Like really, really, you know, I'm ovulating, and my husband would just be like, yeah, that's not sexy. Yeah. He'd be like, that's not sexy, kind of thing. He'd be like, yeah, and Nick was like, oh, that's not it. That's not sexy. And then I remember there was 1 month where I'd only been home a month. And my period came and I was like, oh my God, it hasn't happened. And I didn't want to put myself under that pressure, but at the same time I was subconsciously.
But I think growing up, we're told how easy falling pregnant is. You know, it just seems to be that thing that, you know, that if you even look at a boy the wrong way, you're going to get pregnant.
Yeah.
So then when you do start trying and it doesn't happen, you're a bit like,
Yeah. And I remember feeling really disappointed. And I just was in a bad mood and Nick was like, what's wrong? And I was like, my period's here. I'm not pregnant. And he was like, chill, you've only been home for a month. At this point, I hadn't been home very long at all. But then it happened the next month and I got pregnant really quickly. And you know, it was so funny. I've got a friend and she's got a son. And I messaged her and I was like, when I go back home, I want to be pregnant by February. And I was. So then I took the test. My period was a few days late and my periods have always been really regular.
Yeah.
So then, I took a test and then, ta-da. Yeah.
Can you remember, like, where did you take the test? How did you feel?
I remember exactly where I was. I took it at home.
Were you on your own? Or
I was
Nick
on my
there?
own. Yeah, Nick was at work.
Did he know you were taking the test?
He had no idea. I'd mentioned about my period, but I just think he just thought, oh God, she's on this again, not this topic again. And he didn't take it too seriously. So I took the test. I was at home. And then I took 2 just to make sure. And they were both positive. And I was like, yes, I was so happy. Yeah. And then, do you know what's so funny? I'd always said to Nick, when I find out, I'm going to tell you in a really cool, creative way. Like, we're going to go to a restaurant and then the waiter's going to bring out, like, you know, a tray. And then it's going to be the pea stick. And as soon as it happened, all of that went out the window. I was like, get on the phone. And I just rang him straight away. And he was at work. And I just said, you're going to be a dad. And he was like, wait, what? And he was really shocked at first, but happy shocked.
Yeah.
And then the next person to tell was my mum. And I think she was more excited than Nick.
Really?
She was so happy. And she was in Ghana at the time because, bless you, she frequents back and forth between here and Ghana, her and both my parents.
Yeah.
And I told her and she was just, I need to come home. She's like, I need to book a flight. I need to come home. She was just so happy. Yeah.
But then rolling into your pregnancy, that was not nice.
No, not at all.
You really...
I had it bad.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect. It's so weird because they were the standard symptoms. I had HG.
Yeah.
So that was pretty horrific. I can never remember what it stands for. I can't actually say the word.
Hyperemesis.
That's the one.
Yeah.
So just constant nausea. But it didn't kick in till about 6 to 8 weeks. So at first I was like, oh, I feel great. You know, this is like, what's this nausea that everyone talks about? It's fine. I feel great. Then it started to kick in. And it was really, really intense. Like I had it bad. Like I just felt so nauseous, felt so sick. I always say, like, imagine your worst hangover.
Yeah.
Just feeling like that all day. It was horrible. So I had that. I was in hospital quite a bit with it. They had to put me on the drip and stuff.
Really?
I couldn't even keep water down. It was so bad. Anything I ate, I would throw up. Anything would set me off. All scents, everything. It was awful. It was absolutely awful.
How long were you like that for?
The whole time. Yeah. I was throwing up when I was in labour. I was throwing up the whole time from pretty much 6 weeks, 7 weeks, right until the day she was born.
Oh my gosh.
I was throwing up profusely. I remember there was one night I threw up so much, I literally burst blood vessels in both my eyes, and all my eyes were the whites of my eyes were completely red. They were completely red. I didn't even know that had happened until I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then I had really, really bad heartburn as well.
Right.
It was awful. Unbearable. So I was on the Gaviscon, but then that didn't work, and I ended up on omeprazole. They put me on, and that did help. That helped. And then I found out I had preeclampsia.
Well, you found that out right at the end, didn't you? Because you had swollen feet.
Right, I had swollen feet. And the thing is, I think I really quite literally developed it at the end because I'd just seen my midwife. So I'd had my 38 weeks, 39 weeks, I can't remember. I'd just seen my midwife, and, you know, they test your urine, everything was fine, there was no protein, you know, sent me on my way. And then my feet began to get progressively worse.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was, you know, I'm due to have the baby any minute, so it's got to be that. But then my mum was like, no, something's not quite right.
And your mum's a midwife?
My mum's a midwife.
Yeah.
My mum's a midwife. She was like, this doesn't seem normal. But I didn't actually do anything about it. I just left it. But when I went into labour, that's when I found out I had it.
Going into labour, you had a bit of backache.
I did. I had a bit of backache. So I've always had really bad periods.
Yeah.
And people had said, like, just imagine your worst period pain. That's kind of what the start of labour feels like and contractions feel like. So I had started having those pains. I was 39 weeks. And it started in the morning, first thing in the morning. I was having these bad, like, sharp pains in my back. And I just left it because it started and then had gone away the whole day. And then in the evening, it started to pick up again. And I was like, could these be contractions? Like, I'm not sure if they're contractions. So then I started timing them because I know that, you know, I just wanted to see how frequent they were. And they were coming sort of every half an hour. I had a feeling, I was like, I think the time has come.
How far along were you?
39 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, 39 weeks and something days. I actually can't remember. So I called my mum. And I told her, I was like, look, my back's starting to hurt. The pains are more and more frequent. And she was like, I'm coming. She didn't even waste any time. She got down there pretty quickly. Nick was at work. And when my mum came, I just said to her, look, I don't want to rush. Because I'd heard so many horror stories about going to the hospital and then being sent back home.
Yeah. And
I just didn't want to waste my time. She's like, I want to stay here as long as possible and just firm it for as long as I can. So my mum came. And as the night went on, the pain was just getting worse and worse and worse. And then I was like, I have to be 9 centimetres by now. Like, that's how I felt. I felt I have to be 9 centimetres. So my mum was like, okay, cool, let's go. The contractions were getting closer and closer.
Did you not let your mum examine you or anything?
No. Even though she's a midwife, she's still very much like, technically you're not my patient kind of thing. Yeah. So she was doing more the mum thing. And then every now and then she'll jump in with her. Yeah, she'll jump in with her expertise. But she didn't examine me formally or anything. But we went to the hospital. After that.
Also, though, by that point, she's someone who sees lots of people in labour.
Yeah, exactly.
So she's like, I know how people are.
Exactly. And I was screaming in agony, and the pain was getting closer and closer. So she's like, okay, cool, like, let's go. So we drove down, had the hospital bag, all the rest of it. I was so organised. I had that packed weeks before. So we got to the hospital. And then I didn't know that you don't get seen to straight away. I didn't know that they still triage you. I just thought, oh, okay.
Because in the films, you get rushed in.
Yeah, exactly. You get rushed straight in. So I thought that was what was going to happen. And there were other women there. And I was like, oh, and they're like, yeah, just queue. And I was like, oh, okay. So we queued. I think I waited for about an hour before I was seen. And then, finally got seen. I
guess at that point, though, everyone's taking their different turns in kind of, having their contractions.
Yeah, exactly. Some people are closer than others, Some people are just, some people have got like scheduled, like elected deliveries and stuff like that. So there was all sorts going on in the hospital. So then when I got examined, I was like, she's about to tell me I'm 8 centimetres dilated. I have to be. And then she was like, yeah, you're 0.5. I was like, I was a bit embarrassed. I was like, oh God. I was like, how am I making all this noise and feeling all this pain and I'm only barely dilated
also,
at
that's
all.
quite nice if I had to go 0.5.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, really, I think that was her being nice. I was probably nothing.
You're still firmly shut.
Yeah, exactly. So she was like, no, I can feel baby's head is there, but like, there's nothing, there's nothing we can do. So she was about to say the words, I think you'd be much more comfortable at home. I was like, oh God, But my mum, said, can you test her for preeclampsia because her feet are really, really swollen? And the midwife was kind of like, oh, I think it's normal. She's literally about to go into labour any soon. My mum was like, oh, I'd feel a bit more comfortable if you tested her.
Yeah.
So they tested me and I had it.
So that meant that you could stay in the hospital?
So that meant I had to stay in the hospital, which I did not know.
Right.
And in a way, I'm kind of glad it happened when it did because I know that, had I discovered it earlier, they what's the word when they admit you straight away. So I got admitted straight away, basically. Yeah.
And how was that?
It was a lot because the contractions were still obviously very, very painful.
Yeah. Well, and that's hard at that point when they're so painful and you're still 0.5.
Exactly. And I just kept on thinking this is only going to get worse because I'm barely dilated.
Yeah.
It was horrible. It was just so painful. And I was like, when's the part where I can have the epidural? That's all I wanted to know. I was just like, when can I have the epidural? And they were like, not quite yet, because they had to find a bed.
Right.
And so I was waiting for about 5 hours before they found a bed.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that was a lot. And I was still vomiting. So they'd given me some painkillers to take, but I just kept on throwing it up. Yeah.
But that's also tough when you're not settled in a room with a bed.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you kind of go, okay, I can kind of
At least
into
relax.
this now
Exactly.
and know what I'm doing. Whereas you're waiting, not just have a baby, but you're waiting to get a bed, which means that everything's even like, tighter and...
Exactly. And it just felt really intense, like the whole process. But I was in so much pain. I think all of that stuff was just a blur.
Yeah.
But then when I did eventually get in a bed, it did help. It did help a lot. But yeah, I was vomiting the whole time. It was awful. It was awful. However, I will say this. I hated being pregnant so much that I didn't mind that because at least I knew that the baby was coming. I was like, you know what? I can go through all of this because I know that it's going to be an end result. When I was like 3 months, 4 months, I was like, oh my God, I've still got 5 months of this.
Yeah.
I've still got 6 months of this. I've still got 4 months of this. So that was my saving grace.
Yeah.
During labour. Yeah.
And then how did the rest of it go? Once you actually got into your bed, was it like...
Yeah, so I got into my bed and so you do your birthing plan and stuff. So initially I thought, because my pregnancy was pretty low risk the whole time, so we'd opted for the birthing suite.
Right.
Nick could be there and I was going to try and do it without epidural because I'd had such bad periods. I was like, if I could get through that when I was like 17, I can probably manage it. As soon as I became high risk, the birthing plan kind of just went out the window. So when I finally got a bed, I was in this room and it was really spacious. I was like, oh, this is nice. And I was like, this is actually quite nice. I could do with this. The room was spacious. We had our own bathroom. And I was like, oh God, if this is what the regular room looks like, what did the birthing suite look like? I was thinking that.
How did you feel with your plan being sort of, like sweeping that away? Did you feel like this is the situation? Were you able to just kind of go, it is what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really was. I was just so eager to get to the pushing part.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to argue with anybody else. Like, you know what? I don't care about the birthing plan. I don't care about all of that. Get me to a bed and let's start pushing.
Yeah.
So that was my mindset at the time. I was also so exhausted and a little bit, a bit disorientated, I would say. So I wasn't thinking about all of those things really, but I did remember thinking that when I got to the room, eventually thinking, oh, this is quite nice, So I was on the bed, I was now in my gown and just basically kind of chilling and just waiting.
Yeah.
And then I was asking about the epidural. So then they examined me again. And at this point, I think I was like 3 centimetres dilated or something. But they were like, you can have your epidural. And I was like, yeah, when is that man coming with the pain relief? Like, when is he getting here? And they had said, oh, he's on his way. But I felt like I'd been waiting so much that when they told me that, I almost didn't believe it. I was like, whatever, you're just saying it. He'll get here in an hour. But he actually was round the corner and he came and I was so happy to see him.
Did that instantly feel different? Having the epidural?
I think it took a while to kick in.
Really?
But I think I had that expectation.
Yeah.
I had that expectation that as soon as it goes in, the pain just goes away. But I don't remember the pain going away. I just remember him coming. I signed whatever I signed. And then I think I fell asleep. I woke up and then I just remember forgetting what contractions are. And then I was like, oh my God, a minute ago I was contracted. Oh my God, I'm not feeling the pain. Yay. It was more that.
Yeah.
I was all over the place. But then I started having this really bad pain in my left side of my body and I didn't know what it was. It just felt really sharp. It felt like I'd been in the gym for 4 hours. It was really, really sharp. And so I have this pain and they couldn't figure out what it was. So they didn't want to take the risk of giving me the epidural again. They were like, well, we can do it again. Because, I didn't even know that there's a button.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing. Is that if you're feeling something and it's pain...
It was a very specific, sharp pain. It felt like a muscle pull, but no one knew what it was. We had no idea what that was. And yeah, eventually, after going back and forth with the doctors and nurses, I just remember falling asleep.
Yeah.
And so I just dozed off. And then when I woke up, I think I was like 9 centimeters at that point. It felt like it just went really quickly.
Yeah.
And they were surprised, actually, because they were like, oh my God, you're 9 centimeters dilated. We're going to be ready to go in about an hour. And I was so happy. So I'd gone into labour on the 13th. And then, yeah, I had her on the morning of the 15th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a point towards the end where you almost got told you were going to be taken to theatre.
So when I started pushing, I was really struggling. I think the epidural, it just numbs you so much that it's hard to know. You don't have the sensation of when to push. So I felt like I was pushing really, really hard. And I just wasn't pushing enough, I don't think. And what I was doing was I'd get to a certain point, her head would come out, but then I think that I'd done enough, and then she'd go back in.
Yeah.
And that happened a few times. And so the doctor said to me, look, if we carry on this way, because her heart rate was dropping, and they said, if we carry on this way, then we might have to take you to theatre. So I remember I had a midwife, and she was like, no, don't let them take you down. You've got this. You can do it. You can do it. And, you know, she was encouraging me to push.
And also that difference of, you know, having one person go, oh, it's not work, like it's not doing like that. Not that they were talking negatively towards you, but having that thing of your body's not doing what, you know, or it's doing something that's not achieving.
Yeah.
Whereas having another midwife there who's like, you can do this.
Yeah.
It's a very different.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
How was it when Anaya actually came into the world?
Oh my God. When she finally came out, I was so relieved. I was like, I remember at first, because for some weird reason, I just didn't think that I was going to make it to the end of the pregnancy.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think it's because of all the stories that I'd heard, and just being around for friends' experiences and families' experiences. For some weird reason, I just thought that was going to be my fate. So I couldn't enjoy pregnancy because of all the physical things.
Well, and you didn't share it because that's a massive part of it, right?
Yeah, definitely. I kept it secret for quite a while until I was about 7 months, and then ta-da.
Was it? But I wonder how, because obviously there's so much said now about the statistics of being a black woman in childbirth and stuff. Like how I wonder how that affects women then going into childbirth, because then that's a whole other thing.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
We all know that birth and death are so close. But when you are told statistically, like that's got to have a massive impact on your experience.
That did. I couldn't stop thinking about that.
Yeah.
And so for me, physically, I hated it. And then mentally, I could not stop obsessing over that.
Yeah.
I kept on thinking about that. I kept on thinking. So it was like the stress never ends, because there was the anxiety of trying to get pregnant.
Yeah.
Then I got pregnant, and, you know, it was fairly smooth. We didn't have to try too hard. Then I kept on thinking I wasn't going to make it to 3 months. Then I made it past the 3 months, and I was like, I had a friend who lost a pregnancy at 5.5 months.
Yeah.
So I had that in the back of my head.
Yeah.
When I finally got to the 3rd trimester, I still wasn't relaxed, because I kept on thinking, what if I don't make it out? I kept on thinking that. I was like, what if she doesn't make it out? What if I don't make it out? So I never enjoyed it, ever.
Yeah.
Really. There was never a time where I just sat back and just thought, oh my God, I'm pregnant and I'm happy. You know, it was either the physical thing or the mental thing. But that statistic, I could not stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
So once she finally came out, my first thing was like, is she alive? Because I wanted, again, the movies, you hear the baby screaming. She didn't scream at all when she came out. She made no noise. So I was like, okay, what does that mean? And then eventually she did, thank God. And then I became paranoid about her health.
Yeah.
And it was just never ending. And then I remember just being, and I remember them coming to me and saying, you know, before we can discharge you, you know, they test the babies to make sure that everything's okay.
Yeah.
And so, so I was paranoid about that. I was just paranoid the whole time. The whole time I was paranoid and just worried. But
it's so hard though when something like that clouds over your enjoyment of it. You know, so already in pregnancy you were feeling horrible because of, you know, the extreme sickness and stuff.
Yeah.
But then not to be able to enjoy actually what your body is doing and.
Yeah, there were some times where I'd sit there and I'd be like, oh my God, like when I felt her kicking and stuff. And, you know, I did enjoy those moments, and typical, like I'd go to get Nick to rub my stomach and she'd stop and all of that.
Yeah.
So there were some moments, but for the most part, it was just really, I'd say quite stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah, mentally very draining. I just wanted her to just make it. I wanted just both of us to make it.
At what point did you feel like you could celebrate it?
When we got home.
Really?
Yeah, when I finally was able to take her home, because I had to, when you have preeclampsia, they want to keep you in to just monitor you for a little bit longer. And for me, I was one of those people that got preeclampsia, and luckily, as soon as I had the baby, everything went away.
Did your sickness go and everything as well?
Everything went.
Amazing.
Thank God. And
must
people
have
were
felt like a
saying
new
that I
woman.
was so happy to not feel nauseous.
Yeah.
But do you know what stayed with me for even a couple of weeks after she was born? I had that, that weird taste in your mouth, that metal taste.
Oh, yeah.
I still had that. And I had it was quite extreme when I was pregnant with her, to the point where it was so debilitating I couldn't even enjoy my meals. It was really bad. So I was really looking forward to that leaving, and that didn't leave for a couple of weeks. But I mean, I think that combined with the nausea was horrific.
Yeah.
So when the nausea stopped and I just had that, I was like, when's that going to go away? But I didn't really celebrate. Yeah, I couldn't celebrate until I took her home, but they admitted me for a little bit longer. They wanted me to stay in, but all of my symptoms went away.
How long did you have to stay in for?
I ended up staying there for 2 days because I discharged myself.
Did you?
Yeah, I discharged myself. I was like, do you know what? I just really want to go home.
Yeah. Was your mum staying with you as well?
Yeah. So my mum and Nick would take it in turns to just stay the night. And I just felt ready. Every time they tested me, my blood pressure was back to normal. Everything was back to normal.
And I imagine even when you went home, if your mum was around, she would be watching you like a hawk.
Yeah, exactly. And they'd given me my medication, and they were like, okay, they can't force you to stay, but you do have to sign to say that you've discharged yourself.
Right.
Which I did. And I was like, trust me, I think I'll recover a lot better at home. Because I felt fine, and I just wanted to just be in my environment, really. Yeah.
And what was that like getting home?
Oh my God, I was so elated. But then I've got a newborn. And I'm not someone that's been around children very much.
Okay.
I'm the eldest. Even my brother and sister, there's not that much of an age gap between us. I've got friends that have had kids, but I'm not around them every day.
Yeah.
So I was,
and it's different, isn't it?
Oh,
like holding
100%.
someone's baby for a little bit.
Exactly.
And then holding it, like handing it
And
back
then
if they've done
exactly.
the poo or if they're crying
Right.
is very different. So.
Right. And I was a bit paranoid because a couple of times I had held my friends' kids and they'd be like, oh, you're not holding it. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't even hold a baby. Like I was like, I don't know, like if I've got this mothering thing down. But it's completely different when it's your own child.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I brought her home, I remember my sister-in-laws came over and they were amazing. Like they came and they just cleaned the house and cooked, and I didn't have to do any of that, so I could just concentrate on Nausea, and I was breastfeeding. So luckily for me, I had a good the breastfeeding worked out for us.
Oh, and did it work out like straight away as well?
Immediately, yeah.
That's amazing.
But because I had my mum, so my mum physically put my breast in her mouth and showed me how to do it. So I just thought, you put the boob in and they get on with it. But I didn't know that the latching was a little bit more technical than what it, again, the movies. But yeah, she pretty much latched on straight away. But she was mixed fed straight away as well because she was a very hungry baby.
Really? Yeah.
She was a hungry baby, and I could tell. And it was weird how the motherly thing kicked in because I was breastfeeding her, and I know that they say their stomachs are really small and stuff when they're first born, but she was still like hungry.
Yeah.
So so my mum stayed with us as well. So I had her there for about 2 weeks. She stayed with us, which was really nice. And then the first night I brought her home, my mum had gone home.
Right, okay.
My mum was like, I need to sleep. I'll be back tomorrow. So the first night, it was just Nick and I left to our own devices after my sister-in-laws left. And I remember her just really just having the shakes, and I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
I was like, why is she shaking? And she was basically, when they startle themselves in their sleep, and she just would not settle, and she was crying, and it made me cry. And I was like, calm down, like, don't worry, it's going to be fine. I'm like, why won't she go to sleep? Like, why is she shaking? And then I realised I actually had to swaddle her. And it's crazy because I'd seen swaddle videos and been like, oh my God, those are straitjackets for babies. I'm so against it. Why would anyone do that? And then when I brought my baby home, she needed swaddling. Yeah. And it was the only thing that would get her to sleep, and I could not believe it. Yeah.
And how was the sleep, and how has the sleep been? Have there been moments where it sort of fluctuates?
Oh my God. So the sleep thing, I'm not really a big sleeper. Like,
aren't you?
No, not really.
Okay.
Like I just need, if I have 6 hours, I'm fine.
Okay.
Like, And so people used to be like, oh, it's really crazy. You know, they're up every 2 hours. And I'll just be like, yeah, whatever, I can handle it. Like, I go to bed late, I wake up early, I'm fine. But no, the sleep thing is no joke. I was like, no, this is insane.
Yeah.
So she was up every 2 hours wanting a feed. And I was like, wow. Nick and I were actual zombies. And I was so grateful to have my mum, because a couple of nights she would take over and do the night shift so that I could just get some sleep.
Yeah.
And one thing about sleep that I will say, the advice that really annoys me, that I know is amazing advice, but when people tell you sleep when the baby sleeps, oh my God, that used to wind me up, because everybody that would come and visit, and everybody would like, sleep when the baby sleeps, sleep when the baby sleeps. And obviously when they're newborns, they're sleeping a majority of the day.
Yeah, and also often in those times, you'll sleep when the baby sleeps. It's when those people are over.
Exactly that, the irony. Exactly. I was like, I would be sleeping if you weren't here. But she would be sleeping a lot. And I was like, oh, this is kind of boring. Like, wake up. And I'd be like, play with me. But in the time, I just didn't want to sleep. I just wanted to watch my reality TV shows and just, listen to my podcast and do whatever.
Yeah. But
the night time, that was no joke. And then also being a new mum, first time mum, I was paranoid as well.
Yeah.
And Anaya hated sleeping on her back.
Right.
As well. So that was another thing that I was really paranoid about, because they tell you, make sure the baby sleeps on their back, and she would always roll to the side, and I'd be like flipping her over every minute. And she just couldn't get into sleeping on her back. She was really adamant she wanted to sleep on her side. But yeah, so
has she been through a 4-month sleep regression?
Yes.
Is that a thing?
Yes, she has, haven't you? So then the sleep started to get...
Look at that little face!
So then the sleep thing started to get better, thank God. And then, we had a bit of a setback, but we're back in...
And I actually found the sleep regression worse than the actual newborn phase, because it feels like everything's settled down, you're sleeping, and then it's like, whoa, what is this?
Exactly. It's like, why are we back here again?
Yeah.
So that happened, because we started getting used, because she was sleeping. She had a good stretch. Like, she'd go to bed. There was one point where she was sleeping at 3 a.m. every night. Yeah. That was the time that she would go down, and it was actual torture. And then she started going to bed a little bit earlier, and between 11, and she'd sleep until about 2.
Hold on, 3 a.m. was the time that she'd go like, oh, right, I'm sleeping now.
She'd be up the whole time, just staring at us, like looking around the room. And 3 a.m. she'd start to doze off, and she'd fall asleep, and she'd sleep for a couple of hours, and then we could get some sleep. Now she's older, so she goes to sleep at around 11, and then she started sleeping till about 2. Okay. But now she's sleeping from about 11 till 4:30.
Okay.
Yeah, so then she'll wake up, she'll want to feed, and then she'll go back down till about 8.
That's nice.
Yeah, so it's really nice. Like, I mean, anything is
And also,
great.
if you're not going to sleep until 11 anyway, then that's just waking up once in the night, and then you're actually having a little bit of a line.
Exactly.
And at 6 months, she'll be feeding quicker. Everything is just quicker.
Everything is quicker. She falls back down quicker. So yeah, it's great. It's great. And now I know how to get her to sleep as well. Yeah. Whereas before I'll just be like, twinkle, twinkle. It's just trying to do everything in my power to make her tired. But now she tires herself out, because she's very active, as you guys can see.
And taking the world in.
Taking everything in. So yeah. But now I feel like her regression also was more with her naps. Yeah. She wasn't napping in the day at all at one point. She'd be up all day with me, like just staring back at me. But then she would be pretty tired at night. Yeah. I actually don't know. Well, I don't know what's worse.
You got to pick your battles, I think.
Exactly.
If you could write a letter on motherhood, who would it be to, and what would you say?
Oh my God, it would definitely be to myself.
Really?
Yeah, it would still be to my younger self. Yeah. Because I didn't know if I would take to motherhood. Yeah. And even my mum said that to me. My mum was like, I wasn't sure because my sister's always been very maternal since she was a young girl. I was a little bit, but not as much. And I think there was a point where my mum thought that like my career was going to overtake the desire to want to be a mum. And then I've had her, and if I do say myself, I think I've taken to it really well. You
are so chilled. I really. So, right now, if I had my baby in a podcast 6 months, I would have been having a hot sweat. Like literally, it would consume me. You are so chilled.
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep it cool. Yeah, but I know she's a good baby. I can't complain. But yeah, I'm surprised at how well I've taken to it. So I would write the letter to my younger self and just say, you're gonna be great. You've got this. You'll be fine. Yeah, and it is gonna happen for you as well, because I didn't. You just never know with these things. No. And I actually spoke to like a psychic. Yeah. And she told me that I was going to have a kid. and this was a couple of years ago when I was in the thick of my separation and I was just trying everything to like figure out and get some answers.
Yeah.
And so I spoke to her and she was like, oh, you're definitely going to be a mum. You're going to have 2 kids. You're definitely going to be a mum. And I was like, that plus my fertility MOT? Yeah. I've got this. That's all I need. I'm good.
And after having such a horrible pregnancy, I guess we can call it horrible.
Yeah.
How, like, with her saying you're going to have 2 kids, how does that make you feel looking ahead? Has it put you off having any more?
When I was pregnant, ask anybody that knows me, I was saying one and done. Never doing this again. I can't put myself through this. It's horrible. I hate it. Complaining all the time. And then people would say to me, oh, wait, when she gets here, you're going to change your mind.
Yeah.
Like you forget everything. It all goes out the window. You know, they're worth it. And I was like, yeah, right, whatever. This is gaslighting. It's fine. It's like, I've made up my mind. I don't want to do this again. Stop telling me I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it again. But now I'm like, yeah, I think I will.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. Because, one, because I want her to have a sibling because I'm so close with my siblings.
Yeah.
And 2, I missed the newborn stage. And now that I know what I'm doing, I want to experience it again with the knowledge that I've accumulated from having her.
Yeah.
So I will do it again.
Yeah, because even though the next baby would be different, you are different. You know what I mean? You have that confidence then going into that one.
Exactly that. So I think I will. I mean, she's so great, but I hope she's not what they call is it a phantom baby? When I hope your brother or sister is just as good, but you never know. But I would do it again, definitely.
And we end the podcast with you completing 3 sentences. The first one is being a mum means.
Oh, being a mum means everything to me.
Yeah.
It's what I've wanted for so long, and I feel like I'm really just indulging in every single minute. Funnily enough, yesterday, Anaya had gone to bed, and I went to the front room. And her toys were everywhere, and I was putting her toys away, and I just was like, "Oh my God, you're putting away your child's toys.
Yeah.
Like, this is amazing." Like, I try to everything that you could complain about, I try to make it into a positive.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I was like, "Oh my God, you're putting your baby's toys away. Like, this is a blessing." So that's what I would say to that one.
And then, since having a child, I
have learnt that I do need my sleep.
Are you still happy on 6 hours? Is that still the aim, the goal?
Yeah, I'll be grateful if I can get a solid 6 hours at this point. Before, I was just like, bare minimum, whatever. But
that's the difference, isn't it? If you could do 6 hours before, that was the 6 hours, like, straight, solid. Whereas now, broken 6 hours is not 6 hours.
I don't care, but I will take it in any way, shape or form. I don't care. I will take it, So, yeah.
And finally, I'm happy when?
I'm happy when it is Anaya and I on the couch watching her favourite show, which is called Akili and Me.
Oh, what's that about?
So it's like it's based in Zimbabwean.
Yeah.
But it's so colourful. The songs are so enchanting. She loves it. And Akili's the main character, and I know all the songs off by heart. And that just makes me happy.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you. Did it make you happy too?
Did it make you happy? She heard the Keely and she just got excited.
Oh, Audrey, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's so fun. I loved every minute. I could talk about motherhood all day, so I've really, really enjoyed it. So thank you for having me.